Hello everyone, good day. I am John Ryan A. Kagimbal from BSBA 2C and I am here to report Lesson 2, The Conditions in the Philippines in the 19th Century.
Liberal stirrings from Europe reached the Philippines. In the Ilocos, leading citizens there called Kailanes. They refused to believe that the Cadiz Constitution was abolished by King Ferdinand and rose up in revolt. Then, in 1826, Mexican soldiers mutinied led by Lieutenant Andres Novales. They complained of discrimination and unfair treatment from peninsular officials following the independence of Mexico from Spain. The mutineers tried to rally the Filipinos to gain their support and promised to fight for the independence of the Philippines. And as I understand, I think that Mexicans tried to make alliance to the Filipinos to fight for independence or freedom to the Spaniards. But at the end, the mutiny, however, crashed and rebels were executed. And at the end of the day, they end up unsuccessful. And in 1841 to 1842, the last of the series revolts took place when Apolinario de la Cruz, or known as Hermano Pule, refused to disband his religious organization, the Cofradia de San Jose. He also aspired to be a priest but refused by the Spaniards because of his race. Also, he founded the Cofradia de San Jose because he is refused by the Spaniards to be a priest. And Cofradia gained popularity and seen as a threat by the Catholic Church. Then after his execution and suppression of the Cofradia, members of the Tayabas regiment of the Spanish army who turned out to be province mate of De La Cruz. The defeats of native revolts demonstrated that the Philippines was disunited because of lack of national identity. The Spaniards used this disunity to divide and rule the country. Demographically, the Spaniards were a minority in the Philippines. The Peninsulares or Spaniards born in Spain but at that time were working in the Philippines. Then, consisting of the Governor General, some officials, and priests. And the Insulares, Spaniards born in the Philippines, were also few in comparison to the native population. In large town, the parish priest and the head of local police were the only Spaniards. The colonial order was maintained by largely native officials, local officials such as the gobernadorcillos, councilmen, and the principalia. The policemen were also natives, and even the composition of the local Spanish army and civil guards was largely natives. Only the officials with the rank of sergeants were Spaniards. The Spaniards, despite their inferior number, managed to retain the loyalty of the native officials by giving them certain privileges that kept them separated from the rest of the population. The gobernadorcillos were afforded the titles of Capitan Municipal, Teniente, and Cabeza. Though their positions did not pay much, the titles gave them an exalted position in native society and were called principales, or leading citizens. There were also some material rewards in serving the Spaniards. A number of the principales descended from the loyal datus who pledged their loyalty to the colonizers. They were exempt from taxation and community labor or prestation personal. They were also entitled to receive a portion of their collection from the people. Changes in the 19th century had profound effects to the Philippines. During the previous centuries, it was forbidden for the Philippines to trade with other countries because of Spain's monopolistic policy. But the colonial officials ignored this instruction and traded with other nations. By 1834, the mercantilist policy of not allowing the Philippines to trade with other countries was scrapped with the opening of Manila to world trade. Other ports in the colony like Iloilo, Cebu, Sual, Pangasinan, and Zamboanga there was followed. Brisk demand for Philippine products such as sugar, coffee, abaca, tobacco, dyestuff, and rice. This created economic opportunities as many families began trading these products for the international market. These families were mostly mestizos consisting of Spanish and Chinese families. They intermarried with natives who were farmers that became traders. In the process, they became more affluent and formed the nucleus of the middle class. The increased wealth allowed middle class families to have better houses and sent their children to colleges and universities for tertiary education. They obtained higher education degrees, which they thought made them equal with the Spaniards. Eventually, they became concerned with issues of equality, including secularization. By the time of Rizal's youth, the quest for equality was the cry of the times. It influenced Rizal throughout his life, and it became his lifelong quest. For almost 300 years of colonization of the Spaniards to the Philippines, there are many changes happened until 19th century. From the previous centuries, Filipinos are not allowed to trade products to other countries because of this monopolistic policy or the tobacco monopoly specifically of the Spain established by Gobernador General Jose Vasco, in which tobacco production in the Philippines was under the total control of the government. The Filipinos has no right to produce products for trades and living. But the colonial took action about this and start trading to other countries. The power of mercantilist policy or no right to trade products to other countries was abolished by opening Manila to world trade. Many ports from various provinces for trading. This is the beginning of economic rise for the Philippines. This also leads to union of every colors and to live as a middle class. Children from those years was able to go to college and finish their studies. Their status of living was a flip. But for the purpose of the Spaniards' colonization to influence Filipinos to be civilized and be a Christian. The secularization arises wherein there is more focus on non-religious deeds than religious sects. It is a movement that really affects the regular priest, which is the religious, for which the secular priest or non-religious has more influence to control the Filipinos. Then this became a lifelong guest for Rizal since he is against discrimination. Then the mercantilism or mercantilismo. Ito ay kaisipan na ang kapangyarihan ng isang bansa ay depende sa dami ng ginto at pilak at nagbigay daan para sa sakupin pa tayo ng iba pang bansa. Then secularization. Dito nahati ang mga paring Espanyol at Pilipino. Ang paring sekular at paring regular. Itinatag ito ni Padre Pedro Palaez to fight for the freedom ng mga paring secular. Then, I think after his death, the Gumbursa continues the legacy that Padre Pedro Palaez started. Then, pero after this, mas lumala lamang ang mga diskriminasyon ng mga Espanyol sa mga Pilipino. Then, after this, dito po pumasok yung garote sa mga pare. At grabe po yung mga dinanas ng Pilipinos before. But now, we're lucky because we are in good terms today. That's all. Thank you po for listening, and I am hoping na somehow you gained some information and knowledge from this report. Thank you and God bless everyone.